That's a tough act to follow. Craig Stevens is a resident of Silver Lake Township, Pennsylvania. He's a fifth-generation landowner with a property on Silver Lake Township. He's going to speak to gas drilling myths and realities, gas leases, and a pipeline on his property. Craig Stevens.
Evening, folks. Yeah, it's hard to follow Vera. I wish she'd one of these days really tell us how she really feels, but she keeps it in so well you can hardly tell. Okay, Silver Lake Township. I'm actually sixth generation. My family's been on the same corner for 180 years. I didn't live there. I was born and raised in California. All three of my grandmother's children ran off to the West Coast a long time ago. But my grandmother lived in the house that I'm now purchased from the family for 85 and a half of her 98 and a half years. You may have read about me. Chesapeake Energy, just to tell you what you can do. My dad died in 2007, April 30th, 5 years ago. 6 weeks after he died, my uncle took the Chesapeake landman up to the nursing home, and they signed my grandmother to a 10-year paid-up oil and gas lease for $135.10 an acre. And I knew nothing about it. I happened to be a deeded owner at the time. My grandmother was not. She was the life tenant only. Before my dad died, he spent the last 3 days of his life downloading to my sister and brother and I. I don't know if you've been around somebody that's at the end of their life, but he wanted to share a lot of stuff, and one of them was, don't let these people anywhere near the property. Don't let them do anything. He shooed them off the porch for 14 years trying to come and sign us up. First it was $5 an acre, then $10 an acre, then $15 an acre, then 50, then 100. He told us at that time it was $50 an acre right before he passed away. He said if it's $50, it'll be $5,000. Well, now they're giving around $6,000 to $8,000. So he was pretty good for a guy that died 5 years ago. He said if their mouth is moving, they're lying to you. I didn't know what he was talking about. I lived in California. When he got sick, I moved to Virginia. So 2010, I moved full time. So now I got a lease on my property, right, from Chesapeake I knew nothing about. They recorded it on the deed, and they had a lady sign it, my grandmother, who was the life tenant only, didn't own a bit of the property. So I thought, well, I'll just call Chesapeake. There must be a mistake. Yeah. Actually, there was no mistake on their part. They said, no, we got your aunt and uncle to sign for nothing. They have 39 acres of the property. They signed for nothing. They actually ratified my grandmother's gas lease. So they told me there was nothing they were going to do about it. They had everything they needed, and they weren't interested in talking to me. I said, really, is that your final answer? You want to call a friend or use a lifeline? They said, no, we got everything we need. So I said, okay. They said, if you don't like the way we're handling this, take us to court. So I said, no, you and all the judges, you have all the lawyers. I'm not going to take you to court. I'm going to take you to court of public opinion. Google my name, Craig Stevens, and gas lease Chesapeake Energy. That's November 26th, Black Friday. That's the busiest newspaper day in the country. 20-paragraph story done by Michael Rubenkamp from Associated Press. My God, you should have heard them crying to me, calling after he called them, and said, I'm investigating this as an investigative journalist for the Associated Press. Now they wanted to talk. See, I learned, you never beat them in court. You find me one lawyer that's beaten these guys in a courtroom. They don't. They settle out of court on the courtroom steps every time. So don't think you're going to do anything in court with them. It's not going to happen. I'm conservatively estimate I did $30 million worth of damage to Chesapeake Energy. There's a picture of my grandmother in a rocking chair on the front page of the Los Angeles Times. And it basically explained that they ignored my brother and sister and I as deeded landowners. They ripped off my aunt and uncle by signing them for nothing per acre. And they gave my grandmother $15,000. That's on the leasing side. But I never experienced the landman till the pipeline. I moved there, and all of a sudden I found out, hey, there's a pipeline. A company called Laser wants to run a pipeline across the property, 2,400 feet across our 115-acre rectangular property. I said, really? I didn't hear anything about that. Well, why should I? They didn't call me when they wanted to lease my property with Chesapeake. So I went down to talk to Laser. They had an office in Montrose, near where we live, our bustling metropolis of 1,500 people. And 4 guys were there that all had southern accents. I could tell they weren't locals. And they said, hey, glad you're here. We need your brother and sister and your signature so we can get this pipeline in and get the gas to market so you can get rich. And I go, but I didn't even know I had a gas lease till 5 minutes ago, so I guess I'm going to get rich. But So what did they do? They offered me $5 a foot and a lifetime permanent easement. I literally went like this. Is there a camera in here? Am I supposed to be laughing right now? Or did you just get off the crack pipe and you forgot to come down before you were talking to me? I'm not kidding you. They were dead serious. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. You're never going to get a lifetime easement. And $5 a foot sounds a little light to me. I'm a businessman. So the next thing they said was, all your neighbors have signed. You're one of the only people holding this up. And they're going to get upset if they can't get their gas to market. They use the old line we say, the old all the neighbors have signed trick, right? So unfortunately, I'd called all my neighbors to the east and west of me the night before, and I had a list of neighbors for 5 miles to the west of me that had never signed anything with this company. And so then they're lying to me. So I told them, I don't do business with liars. Then they said, don't worry your pretty little head. We're going to get, the state wants us here, we're going to get certificate of public convenience. I said, do you mean eminent domain? We prefer to call it certificate of public convenience. I said, well, I prefer to call it, you want to steal my land. So let me recap. You want to give me nothing, $5 a foot, a lifetime easement you're not going to get. You lied to me about my neighbor signing, and now you're going to steal my land. You guys don't know how to negotiate very well, do you? So I walked out of their shop. Well, then that $5 a foot that was never going to go up went to $15 a foot about 2 months later. But I said, what about the easement? Lifetime. Hung the phone up on them. You know what that became? Chris Denton, who was there the other night, if you're over in Franklin, he started a group called the Windsor Coalition. I was not able to get into it, although I told him I wanted to, because my aunt and uncle had already signed an agreement with them for $5 a foot. You have to have all the landowners when you do that, all parties. So we waited, and in 4 months, they negotiated a deal that wasn't $5 a foot over a lifetime. It was $55 a foot for the first 20 years, and $60 a foot for the second 20 years, and then there is no deal after 40 years. Folks, that's $115 a foot. That's a little bit different from the $5 a foot they were going to jam on us through eminent domain. And Vera said it was only going to cost them $65 million to put that pipeline in, but because of her intervention, it cost them $150 million. Thank you, Vera, for slowing it down for a year. Year and a half. And guess what? Tom Karam, the CEO of this company, was on my property. I was trying to show him the damage they'd done putting it in. That morning, on one morning, after they'd completed it, and he said, oh, I have to leave in just a little bit because I got to go to New York City. I didn't know what he was doing in New York City, but I found out about a week later. He negotiated a sale after that pipeline had only been putting gas through it for 3 days. That's it. Completed with 3 days of pushing gas through it. He sold it to Williams, who's here wanting to put this one in, for $750 million. But he only had $5 a foot for us. You know how many billions of dollars they're going to make through this pipeline they want to cut through here? And they're right. I'm going to dress up in a Paul Revere suit, and I'm going to go town to town from Pennsylvania, where we call ourselves the extraction colony now. You can't be called an extraction colony yet, because they're not extracting here yet. And if you want it, you're nuts. And I'll tell you why. I went to the same event in Albany, and then I drove through 20 and 28, right through Cooperstown. The most beautiful, my mom's from Oswego, New York. I'm a 5th generation New Yorker also, besides a 6th generation Pennsylvanian. I'm their nightmare, because they asked me, how much you want? Just how much, what is your number to get rid of you? I said, I wish it was that easy. I got to answer to 5 generations buried 2 miles down the street from my house. And I don't feel like having them float back to visit me in the middle of the night, because I made a decision to sell them out and my whole history out for a couple of bucks. That's the issue. Now they're going to tell you can't fight a FERC pipeline because it's federal. Really? Hey, I think Barack Obama's trying to get elected again in 5 months, don't you? And maybe Mitt Romney wants to get voted for too. Folks, if you don't know it, I'm a political animal. This is prime time, baby. This is when we get to be citizens and they get to be the people that work for us. And they're going to spend billions of dollars anyway trying to win our vote. So you call up your elected officials all the way up from the local, the dog catcher, all the way to the president and say, hey, you know what I've been thinking? I think you think you're in charge. And you want my vote? Then you earn it. Earn my vote. You do what I say. My taxes pay your salary, Mr. President, all the way down. And that's the truth. EPA, they're not elected. They're not elected. None of the three-letter organizations the federal government runs are elected. They're appointed. By who? The president. The buck stops in one place. When he realizes, I'm sure we have a room full of people here, some of them, that are supporters of the current president. I did not vote for him, but that doesn't mean he's not my president. Whoever's in that office is all of our president. And they better get in the middle and represent everybody. But this guy has had 3.5 years right now. I'm a little disappointed. I really thought we were going to have some huge changes. Some of them I wasn't going to like, I didn't think. But at least I thought, wow, well, at least he'll please half the room. What? What is going on here? He got $3 million in 2008 from the oil and gas industry, and John McCain got 2.5. They play both sides. My dad told me that. They'll buy everybody off. They all get suitcases full of money. See, I'm not here to be down on the industry. I'm just telling you, they don't have any other way to do it. Because sooner or later, people figure stuff out. Like, oh, we're just going to install the pipeline. It'll be easy peasy. You won't even know we're there. Until the creek in my backyard that Vera told you about, Laurel Lake Creek, blew out 8 times in 2.5 months. July 29th, they were boring. That's 40 feet underground. They were going from my neighbor up high behind me to my neighbor underneath the creek. That creek happens to be, mine's the first and only house that it comes to. On July 29th, my kids come to stay with me every other week in the summertime. They love to throw breadcrumbs off the back of my property in the creek. The fish attack it like piranha. They love it. So on July 29th in the morning, they're out there throwing breadcrumbs in. We take off for town, come back in the afternoon. The first thing we do when we come in the house, hand them a couple slices of bread. They run back there. As I come back there, they're coming back at me like this. Creek's all muddy. What? I mean, not muddy. Mississippi. This is a pristine trout stream, crystal clear. So we walked down to where they're boring, and what they did was the pressure built up. They blew the bottom of the creek out, about a 10-foot hole in it, filling it with bentonite clay. They call it drilling mud. The guy there told me it was a blowout. That's the guy drilling that worked that. So I called the DEP and said, hey, they had a blowout. Oh, Mr. Stevens, we don't call that a blowout. We call it an inadvertent return to surface. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go down the street and have an involuntary muscle reaction in somebody's face, and they're not going to like it. You get somebody down here now and stop it. Because my creek was crystal clear until they showed up. That happened 8 more times. But, you know, just to let you know why, it's not going to be a problem, guys. Whoever here that's totally innocuous on this whole pipeline installation, it's not like they're drilling. They're just going to send the gas through. Tell that to John Jones, Vera and I's neighbor. On July 29th, one of the trucks that was sucking up the mud, because that's what they do. They drive hundreds of trucks in and suck up the mud flowing out of the ground. And they went down the street, ran a stop sign, flipped over on top of John's Subaru there. Crushed him into the side of his car that he was on the driver's side. His daughter Allison was 17, sitting next to him. She opened her passenger door and stepped out. Went around the other side of the car and watched her dad die in the next 5 minutes. Crushed into the vehicle, still alive. Got it, folks? Oh, what's the harm? It's just a pipeline. They're still going to have hundreds of trucks. They're going to be doing drilling just like this. They have to bore under streams, roads, everything else. I'm not telling you guarantee it's going to happen. I'm telling you it did happen. Right in our woods, 57-year-old, nicest guy in the whole community. Everybody liked him. Now he's in the ground. And the guy driving had no commercial driver's license. The brakes were gone on the truck. 3 of them were not even working. Got it? And he lived where? In Arizona. So after he got out of the hospital, he took off. They've never seen him again. All the people coming to do this work are going to be from out of the area. It's not going to be anybody local. They're going to bail right out. So back there I have the 21 important questions for landowners asked the gas industry. Some are relating to this. I have copies back there. Get a copy. Boy, you can be the most ardent supporter of the industry. I love gas drilling. I can't wait to get rich. I'm going to be a shillionaire. Hey, you know what? Why don't you ask them these questions? You love them. Just ask them. Where's the meter? How do I know how much money you owe me each month? Oh, hey, are you asking me a question? That sounds kind of negative. The industry doesn't like it. They like you to, everyone do this for me. Can you do this? Just move your head like this. Come on. Audience participation time. They love you when you do that. When you go like this, they go, uh-oh, there's a troublemaker potentially. And when you go like this, they will destroy you. Destroy you. Vera and I's pictures are up in their security trailers for WPX, which used to be Williams. But they split off and told us they don't have anything to do with each other. Yes, they do. So our pictures are up along with two of our other friends in their security trailer because we're such big, bad troublemakers. Doesn't Vera look really assuming? Oh my God, she scares me. She's so big and burly and rough, she could really smash us, right? I mean, these guys we're dealing with are 6 feet tall and more and weigh 250 plus pounds. And when Vera pulls up in her little, what used to be a red Prius, now it's a green Camry, they run for their lives and jump in their vehicles and cover up their faces. Do you want anybody in your community that runs and covers their face when a video camera comes? What are they on America's Most Wanted? Are they on the child predator program? Okay, now let's tell you the happy news I have. Hey, first water went bad. That was before I moved there, but I was raised to support the community. All my neighbors told me they were lying, so I went over and found out they were the bravest people I've ever met. First community in the country to stand up to the industry for 3.5 years. Their water is bad. I won't drink it. So guess what? I said, I know who's lying here, and it's not them. Then in Franklin Forks, 2 miles from me, the water went bad. December 6th. The DEP did nothing. WPX, who was drilling, did nothing. So Vera went down, and I followed her down. And we found out about it. A family of 7, 2 adults, 2 adult daughters, and 3 children, grandchildren under 6, living in a house with bad water since December 6th. We were in March, mid-March. We had enough. We asked them, how's this whole waiting and being quiet working for you? They said, not too good. Let's get noisy. And we did. It was on the news media there. We had 6 news cameras there, Vera did, within 2 days. Oh my God. And the company was like, and then of course, what did they do? They started Franklin Citizens for Truth. Just like Dimick Proud. I'm proud to live in Dimick. Great, you're proud to live in Dimick. But now the Franklin Citizens for Truth wrote a note that said those lunatics down on 29 are going to ruin it for all of us. We're all waiting to get rich. You know what, folks? If I need my neighbors to get poisoned and their lives to be destroyed so I can get a few bucks, there's a really warm place that's down in the basement underneath this ground that I believe in that is waiting for me when I start acting like that. That's not how you do it. That's not how you live your life. If you're living your life to make money and that's it, nothing else is important, I have a daughter and 3 sons. So what does that mean? Somebody offers me $1 million for one of my kids? Well, not $1 million, maybe 2. That would get me well off. What are we doing here? We're going to really teach our kids we'll do anything for money? Is that really the value? Is that the family value? No thanks. My 9 and 8-year-old boys that come and visit me and my 23-year-old son that's in California, they had an answer. They figured this out really fast. Daddy, it doesn't look like these people are very nice, and they're not going to treat our land very nice. This is from a 9 and 8-year-old, folks. I said, yeah, but we could have all kinds of money, and it's going to be great. And they go, we don't care. If they ruin our water and ruin our land and we can't come here and the animals can't live here, then what's the use? And I said, hey, that's a pretty good answer. If you need the answer, talk to your kids and your grandkids. They don't care about money. They need water and clean air. And this industry doesn't do too much of that. Found out what they're really good at, screwing things up. They're really good at that. And then covering that up and not admitting to it. I'm going to finish up here in a minute. So what news did I get? I had 5. I made laser test my water 3 times for free. Before, during, and after the installation of the half-mile across my property. They did such a bad job on my property. Took them 2.5 months. It was supposed to take 2 weeks. They destroyed it. They still have to come and fix it. But now Williams has to fix it because they were stupid enough to sell it to somebody for $750 million or buy it from Laser for $750 million. So they're going to come and fix it. So I had water testing done by the DEP 2 months ago just for follow-up. And they called me on Friday and left this message. Mr. Stevens, we have mailed you a package with your water test results. When you look at them, please call us before it because we found some things that we want to talk to you about immediately. And then when I called back, that was at 10 in the morning, they were out all day long. How'd you like to get that call, folks? What? So then Monday I got a hold of the guy and he goes, well, your iron went from 0.083 and 0.089 to 0.4. Anybody? That's 5 times higher. For no reason. Now, 2 things happened. The pipeline got put in 200 yards behind my house, and my neighbor, Phil, a mile away, got a well drilled. And the horizontal bore went right up behind my house, behind me. Because they do that 1.5 miles underground. They only drill down 8,000 feet, but they go about 10,000 feet sideways. So there you go, folks. Now I'm in the in crowd over my area. I was feeling left out. Now I have, my manganese is triple, my iron is 5 times, and my turbidity's gone up 3 times. All precursors to your water. What that means is the aquifer, it's actually pushing the negative effects. So Let me finish up here by saying this. I'm going to read a couple quotes. Martin Luther King said, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." And the silence of our friends in Pennsylvania is deafening. Do not turn your back on your neighbors, folks, your friends and your family, because they have an opinion to protect what is rightfully theirs. That's the worst thing you can do. And then how about this? Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. I hope we don't have a bunch of do-nothings in here. I hope we have some people that will stand up. 4 years so far, guys. I was at Patterson's office the day he signed the moratorium. I was only a few months into this fight, but I said, hey, I'm going. Let's protect my ancestral home, the 5th generation ancestral home. And of course, you know that Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And I'm going to close with this one. Albert Einstein, you know that guy that probably could have won the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You're not the first state, guys. Pennsylvania's number 32. You were supposed to be number 33, but you upset them. So that was Ohio. But got it? We're not new to this game. Why are they still making these same mistakes all over the country now? So, we're going to do question and answer. Howard will tell you, but I'm telling you right now, you say no and you fight it as hard as you can, because once it comes in, like Vera said, it's a cancer. And we're going to have to cut it out of Pennsylvania. Here you don't have it yet. It's not even on the scope. It's so small, it might be benign and they can remove it very easily. But you let it start coming and it's going to look like, I swear to God, it's going to be a Normandy invasion of trucks if you let the drilling come here, and the pipeline work is not much less. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say one thing I forgot to mention also, that when I was dealing with laser pipeline, I asked them specifically several times, are you going to have compressor stations along this 21-mile route? They assured me again and again, no compressor stations. We won't need it. We just need the one on the Millennium Line across the border in New York. So what happens after the line has gone in? We now have 4 compressor stations that are being built along the 21 miles. And when the other gentleman said this may be like every 40 miles or every 60 miles, our compressor stations are every 2 to 4 miles along the pipelines. So you will have many compressor stations. And that was the lie there, and there will be the lie here. So I just wanted to let you know that. And then it's the amount of trees that they will cut. We have a 100-mile or so pipeline in the counties west of us. They estimated at 200,000 trees being cut along 100 miles or so. So that's what you can expect as far as some of the destruction that you can imagine.
The compressor stations would be within the permanent easements?
Yes, the compressor stations are nearby. Yes, they're nearby the pipelines. And, well, I don't know if they'll be in the easement. They'll be on the outside of it because it's only 100 feet. But it'll be nearby. And compressor stations emit tons of emissions, toxic emissions, which are allowed by our EPA. So you can have tons of VOCs, volatile organics. You can have tons of benzene, toluene, xylene. You can have tons of carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfates, formaldehydes. It goes on. And this is what you breathe, and we can smell it now. You go near them within 1,000 feet, we can smell it and you can hear them. Constant noise, 24/7.